When time first began, the Eternal gave life to powerful beings of light, the Drakeels. But as misfortune would have it, the power given to these creatures awoke in them only a boundless pride and an inexhaustible thirst for dominion. Shaken by this betrayal, the Eternal banished them to the deepest abyss of Dracomundus. It was there, in the depths of the earth, that they twisted into the monstrosities that we know today as dragons. Alas, possessed more than ever by hate and vanity, the Banished refused to admit themselves defeated. Through their voices, they persisted in corrupting humanity. Through their blood, they defined the land we call our home. From that moment on, mankind would live in fear. Fear that one of the Dragon Lords, the most powerful of the Banished, would one day return to the surface. With the support of his Dragonkin, Saw Ichnog succeeded in escaping from his subterranean prison. And brave souls, guided by the light, rose up and vowed to push him back. Soldiers of the Order, righteous and faithful to the Eternal, who suffered body and soul after coming into contact with draconic corruption. Rare were those who remained impervious to the depraved whispers of the dragons on the outskirts of this gaping breach. One such person was Godefroy of Clerval, Grand Knight of the Order of the Eternal. The voice of the Dragon Lord blighted people's spirits and petrified their bodies, instilling terror and madness into those who heard it. Never before had a breach so vast been rent between the two worlds. It was here, at this wound between worlds, that the corruption was most potent. One by one, haunted by the whispers from below, the people succumbed to madness. Draconic blood sullied the earth and corrupted the creatures that trod upon it. Pitiful in their wretchedness, and too weak to resist the command of their new masters, they drank the blood of the dragon and gave in to depravity. Thus, enslaved, they were twisted into ghastly monsters, mockeries, Dragonkin. women, children, animals, or as many slaves as there were devoted to their cruel masters. Just as many grotesque monsters blindly obeyed any order given to them by their dragon lord. Only the most righteous of souls, guided and supported by the Eternal, were able to resist the corrupting call that led the living to damnation. These righteous few bore the feeble flame of man through the darkest shadow. And though it flickered, it would not be extinguished. Filled with these fleeting embers of hope, a few brave souls founded an alliance to carve the first breach into draconic defenses. Here, the Dragonkin's power was strong. It fused our world with that of the Banished. Godefroy of Clairval heroically broke through and shattered their defense barriers. This act of bravery, a feat of the righteous alliance of men, allowed me to lend aid to the Knights of the Order of the Eternal. Me, Almantir, Grand Oracle of Pytho Durkan, Dragon Blood, a human altered but not consumed by the draconic blood that flows through my veins. My sisters and I have powers given to us by the dragon, but our souls remain our own. Neither Dragonkin nor entirely human, and afforded extraordinary abilities by the forebearers. by those who drank the blood of the only banished dragon to have ever repented before the Eternal. These few drops of draconic blood connected our thoughts to those of the dragons. Struck by fleeting visions, we saw glimpses into their deeds and understanding of the feelings that drove them. With that understanding came a vulnerability. We soon learned that we were at the mercy of their whispers. The voices threatened to consume us, with no hope of salvation. But the formidable link that connected us to the dragons had also awakened something within us. We lived strong in the certainty that the Eternal had pardoned us for the draconic corruption in our veins. Our civilization fell alongside the blue dragon Dragonkin, forcing us to live amongst men in the city of the Order of the Eternal. Closer to the breach made by Sir Ichnog, Godefroy, fighting fire with fire, confronted the draconic hordes. I battled by his side, but my strategy was less direct. My draconic power allowed me to open up a passageway for the men of Nuragard, all of them prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice to save what remained of humanity. Once this invisible barrier had been breached, they knew that their lives would hang by mere threads. But these warriors from the north cared little for the uncertainties of our plan. A hero's death in the heat of battle with their enemy was the greatest honor that could befall them. Led by the pale dragon-blood Harold Truelson, the barbarian fleet had but one objective: to lure the enemy into the open sea and leave the path to the breach vulnerable. If a single vessel reached the coast, then this sacrifice would not have been for naught. Harold Truelson reached the hostile shore and avenged the fallen from the Toriel clan. The barbarians of Nuragard feared neither pain nor death, and they welcomed violence as they might an old and familiar friend. Truelson knew this friend better than most. His existence thus far had been one of suffering, of hardening his resolve, and of preparing to endure the worst of torments, without losing the one thing of value every warrior of his clan held dear: his soul. While the Knights of the Order of the Eternal had always been forbidden from making use of dragon's blood, the warriors from the north, staying true to their values, had taken this risk. A select few, highly trained clansmen, risking their lives in the process, had successfully imbibed the pure dragon's blood without succumbing to the corrupting voices. Among them was Truelson. To become a dragon blood barbarian, he paid the ultimate price and cast away a portion of his humanity. In exchange, he received draconic powers that he put to use for the Toriel clan, the Eternal and humanity at large. And even if all others, from Montesky to Nuragard, recognized the courage and sacrifice of these brave warriors, there was not one that did not also regard with sincere disgust. While there could be no doubt of their loyalty to Toriel, defender of the Eternal, their bodies, defiled by the dragon as they were, drove the rest of mankind to reject them. Truelson, for his part, cared little for his appearance. What did this matter after all, as long as his soul remained intact? The pale dragon blood had achieved his goal. The Alliance's plan, as unlikely as it was to succeed, could run its course. The barbarian waited for the signal that would tell him where to carve a bloody path through enemy defenses and lure the dragons far away from the breach. The Kongirati nomads, every bit as proud and as fearless as the warriors from the north, joined the alliance of men to help push back Sor Iknog, the Crimson Dragon. Sitting astride their draconic hybrids, these tracker archers faced the dragon steadfastly and seemingly without fear. Not one would allow the enemy to make easy prey of them. Hides, wings, teeth, blood. For the Kongirati, each draconic monstrosity was not only a threat, but also a quarry from which they could gain valuable resources. And where others had begged and prayed for divine salvation, these nomads made full use of anything the earth and providence offered them in order to survive. Their master tracker, Eula, however, did not see things in such stark shades of black and white. Of all those who made up their number, she was the first to recognize the value of this eternal light. She rejected neither the ancestral traditions nor the tracking of the Dragonkin, and made it possible for the Kongirat to excel in the arts of potions, alchemy, poisons, and draconic hybridization. How long would her people be able to continue traveling freely if the corruption were to poison the entire world? It was for this reason that she joined the alliance of men. To seal this union, the Order of the Eternal entrusted her with one of their most powerful relics, a single, glimmering scale of light. If the legends are to be believed, this scale had been pried from the hide of one of the Drakeels in the heat of battle, back when these beings of light had pushed back the banished dragon lords that ventured too close to the surface. Each champion had one, and the power of their light would be needed to push Sor Iknog back into the shadows. It was up to Eula, armed with her scale of light, to cast the invocation. She would then know whether she had been right to put her trust in the Order and in joining the Alliance. The power of the light was like nothing ever seen before. We heard the Dragon Lord howl into our minds, racked with pain and rage. So close to the Dracomundus, our souls suffered as from 1,000 deaths, but we held fast to our positions. Inch by inch, the divine light pushed the corruption back into the breach. And it was thus that the Banished Lord saw Ichnog disappeared once more into the shadows, where he would suffer eternal retribution. Once calm fell, we were all that was left, the sole witnesses to the feat accomplished by the alliance of men. But more than ever, we knew that the taint of draconic depravity still festered in the depths of the abyss, impatient to break free once more. Thus, from the union of men and their allies that stood together in the face of the draconic threat, an elite corps was established within the Order of the Eternal, the Dragon Hunters.